Jeffrey Dahmer is one of the most notorious criminals in American history. But his crimes were not the result of a single moment of violence. Instead, they were a slow, methodical series of actions, fueled by manipulation, control, and a disturbing need for dominance. In this episode, we will delve deeper into the chilling ways in which Dahmer lured his victims, gained their trust, and ultimately preyed upon their vulnerabilities. By the early 1980s, Dahmer's life was spiraling out of control. His personal life was marked by deep isolation and confusion. Coupled with substance abuse and a lack of meaningful relationships, he found solace in bars and social spaces where he could interact with others, particularly in the gay community, where he hoped to forge connections that had eluded him for years. Dahmer, however, was not looking for genuine relationships. He was looking for control. His interactions were not about companionship, but about establishing power over others. And he used his victims' trust as the gateway to his darkness. Dahmer frequented local gay bars in Milwaukee, where he would quietly observe those around him. He didn't draw attention to himself. He blended into the background, observing and waiting for the right opportunity to approach someone. He was often described as shy and awkward, making it easier for people to dismiss any red flags. He would typically strike up a conversation with men who appeared isolated or lonely individuals who, like him, were searching for something more. Dahmer would offer companionship, sometimes offering a drink, or simply engaging in small talk. He presented himself as approachable and harmless, carefully reading his potential victims to gauge their interest. Dahmer was not a man of impulse. Every interaction was part of his larger plan. He knew how to exploit others' needs for attention or affection, and he used those needs to his advantage. He would often invite men back to his apartment, offering an excuse to continue the conversation in a private setting, like discussing photography or showing off his supposed collection of art. His apartment, though modest, was a place where his victims would feel safe, not realizing the danger that awaited them there. Once his victims were inside, Dahmer's tactics shifted. He would create a sense of ease and comfort to lower their guard, engaging in casual conversation or offering them drinks. Dahmer understood that once he had them in his space, their trust would make it harder for them to escape. His victims often felt a sense of obligation or politeness to stay, and once they did, they were essentially trapped. At that moment, Dahmer's intentions would become horrifyingly clear. Dahmer's method of control was deliberate. He didn't just want to overpower his victims physically. He wanted to dominate them mentally and emotionally, manipulating their thoughts and actions until they were entirely at his mercy. Once he had gained their trust, he would overpower them with a combination of isolation and deceit. His victims were often vulnerable. Many were struggling with personal issues, such as homelessness, addiction, or loneliness. Dahmer understood this vulnerability and used it to further manipulate them. He created the illusion of safety and companionship, only to shatter it when they were in his control. After gaining his victims' trust and making them feel comfortable, Dahmer would act quickly. His crimes were not about spur-of-the-moment decisions, but rather about carefully orchestrated actions. His victims, once incapacitated, would often be subjected to the most terrifying experiences of their lives. Dahmer's chilling calmness during these moments speaks to the depth of his manipulation. He wasn't acting on rage or fear. He was acting out of a controlled desire to impose his will over others. Many of Dahmer's victims came from backgrounds that made them especially vulnerable to his schemes. He preyed on those who were alone, often looking for companionship or a safe space. Some of his victims had struggled with addiction, while others were marginalized, which made them more likely to trust someone like Dahmer, who appeared harmless at first. His ability to deceive and manipulate was one of the key reasons he was able to continue his crimes for so long without being detected. Dahmer's victims were more than just people caught in his web. They were sons, brothers, fathers, and friends. They had lives and stories of their own, often with dreams and hopes for the future. But Dahmer's manipulation robbed them of their agency, reducing them to mere pawns in his twisted desires. He wasn't just taking their lives, he was systematically stripping away their identities, turning them into objects for his own satisfaction. As we reflect on Dahmer's crimes, it's important to remember that his victims weren't just faceless numbers or headlines. Each person who fell prey to him had a life, a history, and people who loved them. Dahmer's manipulation and cruelty not only ended lives, but devastated families and communities, leaving behind a trail of grief and unanswered questions. His ability to prey on vulnerable individuals in such a calculated way reminds us of the dark side of human nature and the dangers of trust when it's exploited for evil purposes. In the end, Dahmer's story is a stark reminder of the horrors that can lie hidden behind a mask of normalcy. His actions were the result of a mind that saw others not as people, but as tools to be used for his own control. But it's crucial that we remember the victims, not just as numbers or statistics, but as individuals whose lives were taken by a predator who knew exactly how to exploit their vulnerability. Their stories deserve to be told, and their lives deserve to be remembered.